UCF basketball is right in the thick of the Big 12 standings, but how far can they go?
You are Locked On UCF, your daily podcast on the UCF Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into Locked On UCF, your daily UCF podcast. I'm your host, Mike G, and thank you so much for making Locked On UCF your first listen of every day. Joining me, as he always does, from the last word on sports for the first word on this topic is my good friend, Andrew Glucov. Andrew, UCF continues to make strides in the portal. Cole Koslowski, did I say that right?
Yes.
Joins the UCF Knights at linebacker. Before we started recording, we talked about the production that UCF has lost at linebacker this offseason. Deshaun Pace is out. He had 50 tackles. Ethan Barr is out, 55 tackles there. Alexander is out, 54 tackles. Not any returning production. What do you think about this pickup of Cole here in the portal at linebacker?
Well, UCF has a history of bringing in strong linebackers from the FCS level and them rising up. Barr last year was one. Jason Johnson last year, a couple 2 years ago. So this is just fitting in a pattern that the Knights have been able to do. Just because you play at a lower division at the FCS level does not mean you're a bad player. There's a whole slew of circumstances that could have led to that. But as a result of the transfer portal, they're able to maximize and bring these guys in, and they produce. This is just, one of many at this point. That's just a growing trend of FCS talent coming to UCF to step into that leadership role. He's a one-year rental, coming in to take care of some business. And while UCF cultivates the younger talent, I mean, they've been hitting the portal hard. In the linebacking core, a couple guys from Oklahoma have already, committed to transfer to UCF. So UCF's taking the roster situation seriously. Losing Alexander, the transfer portal, hurt. He had a great end of the season. The last quarter, he was just absolutely on fire. Was a guy definitely disappointing to lose. The others you expected to be gone just based on age. But as we said, this is a whole new team. So roster turnover, this is kind of a good moment to have roster turnover. You don't want it in the middle of things, but at least you have a chance to hit the reset button, new coaching staff, new players.
Yeah. Koslowski, 6'2", 230-pound senior, as you mentioned, from Manasquan, hometown in New Jersey there. But the new rules around those junior college years, does this affect Koslowski at all? Does he have any extra eligibility here? I know he's a senior, but is he out of eligibility truly after this year?
No, this is, at this point, the COVID window for those players are pretty much gone at this point. You may have a few that hang around because of that extra year of JUCO based on when you started. That's very particular. So, I mean, there's very little left as far as guys. I'm sorry. Koslowski I think he has 2 seasons left.
Okay.
I misread. He was started in 2022. So, you got that red shirt year, and then you got 2 years active. So he's got 2 more years. My fault for reading. This is the busy season. And as a result, the eyes are a little weak. Had to take care of a stressed out dog in the house, and,
oh man,
things happen. So, forgive me.
At Colgate last year, 66 total solo tackles, 67 assisted, 133 total tackles. Koslowski, 8 tackles for a loss last year at Colgate. So it's going to be about development. You and I have talked about this repeatedly. Can Scott Frost and staff get in there and find those hidden gems, develop guys up, push guys along, and fill the gaps until they can catch up in recruiting? Guys like Cole play an important role, I think, when you're rebuilding a program.
Oh, absolutely. Like Ethan Barr did a pretty good job last year as a stopgap to help. Some of these players are just tackle machines. UCF has done it a number of times, as I've said, bringing in guys from the FCS level and absolutely tear it up. Each of the last few seasons, they've had one of their top tacklers is a transfer from the FCS level. So Koslowski already has an eye for the ball and knows how to develop at the point of attack. So his growth won't be as important as, say, an Andrew Harris, who's been in the program a couple of years, still working on breaking through. A very talented guy. This is where that last coaching hire that we're still waiting to hear on a linebackers coach is so important. As you know, that linebacking, the linebacker position is required to be so versatile. You have to be able to drop back into coverage. You have to be able to pass rush. You have to be able to shed blocks, outside containment. When I was younger, I played linebacker, so I'm always looking at outside containment. Are they when they go do a sweep, are they forcing the running back to come in? Are they maintaining? Are they over pursuing? What's their angle? This is all stuff that the coaching staff has to be able to address, because we've seen on more than one occasion, especially the first half of last year, where nothing was working. The angles were all wrong. And while they found pockets of success, a lot of times they just had really bad pursuit angles, could not, contain. And as a result, missed, what should have been easy stops turned into large chunk gains.
Again, UCF loses a ton of production at linebacker this offseason. We talked about the guys on the way out for one reason or another. Did want to add, they did land a commitment from 3-star middle linebacker Michael McKenzie, and he's an Orlando area native. He had a good, impressive junior season, recording 219 tackles, 46 tackles for a loss, and 19 sacks, which is ridiculous. So they'll continue to build there, but I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do defensively here. I like the moves that they're making, and hopefully we see more of that. Final thoughts on linebacker moving into 2025.
Well, I mean, there's work to be done. You're bringing in these new pieces. You have to get it to coalesce and turn into a working unit. You've got to, bring that last coach in, get everything locked up and get to work. I mean, right now you're just starting your offseason development program, about strength and conditioning and all of that jazz. They've got time to bring in, another player or two, and then it's time to get to work. You've got spring ball just a few months away, and then the spring game, then the summer program. Before you know it, season's going to be here pretty quick. It's going to sneak up on us.
Look, football news isn't the only news. On the hardwood, the UCF Knights bounced back versus Arizona State. We're going to talk about that right after a quick word from our sponsors. This episode of Locked On UCF is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Andrew, the national championship is nigh. Notre Dame has made it, but you know who's not there is Oregon, because I bet against them on FanDuel and I won. Ohio State delivered. It's going to be a fun game to watch, I think. Who do you got? Who you got at this national championship for your FanDuel pick?
I'm very biased. I'm born and raised Cleveland, Ohio. So okay. I'm a born and raised a Buckeye. So the only time I rooted against them was when UCF played them. So Ohio State all the way in this one. Forget Lou Holtz. Forget him.
Not a Lou Holtz fan myself. But look, hey, it's going to be fun no matter who you're betting for. But if you do bet with our friends at FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. You're guaranteed $200 in bonus bets with your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. UCF basketball takes down Arizona State. Solid win. Look, Arizona State is got a few losses on the season, but you needed to bounce back if you're UCF, and they did that. So they sit right in the thick of those Big 12 standings. Now, Iowa State obviously leads the pack. They're the number 2 team in the country right now in the AP. So it's going to be interesting, I think, to see if they can hold on to that. Their only loss coming to number 1 Auburn. Iowa State is 5 in the net. UCF, I think, sits at 72 in the net right now.
Yeah, they're in the 70s right now. kind of languishing a little bit. That win against Arizona State. Arizona State's now ranked 60th. So it was an important win for the team. Yes. Did it really bump them in the rankings? No, but there's still a lot to shake out. UCF's got plenty more quad one games coming up.
Now we talked about this Arizona State being the Keyshawn Hall game. Keyshawn Hall had himself a hell of a night. They've got ballers on this squad. And I think this is a really good team that has a chance to go pretty far.
Keyshawn Hall was almost automatic in the first half, scoring 29 points. I think it was 11 of 13 from the field and was perfect in 3-pointers. You finished the game 13 of 18 and a perfect 10 for 10 at the line. 40 points. He exploded. It made national news. People are talking about Keyshawn Hall and UCF and what he did. We talked about a while ago how at the time 3 different players had 15 or more point averages. Obviously, that's changed a little bit. Keyshawn Hall kind of rising up. Jordan Ivan Curry and Darius Johnson are dropping down a little bit. But this is still a very versatile team that if one player rises up, if they can take over for another player that's not having a great day. And in the case of Hall, he was just so hot. They just fed him the ball. That's what you do. Feed the hot hand. And he could not mess up in the first half. I mean, he started getting a little bit of foul trouble, didn't play as much in the second half, but you know what? That's okay because other players stepped up. And Darius Johnson had a really good second half after a really quiet first half. While he struggled from 3-point land, only hit 2 of 6, he had a lot of key plays in the second half to hold off Arizona State from coming back.
Yeah. Keyshawn Hall, 40 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 of 6 on 3-pointers in this game. Man, he exploded. But look, the schedule is tough for UCF. You and I talked about that UCF basketball schedule moving forward. So they've got some hills to climb. Most notably, Houston is next, January 18th, 2 days from now from when we're recording this. And then they have Iowa State next Tuesday on the 21st. They got to play Kansas again on the 28th before the end of the month. Andrew, 3 top 10 teams in the next 4 games. With TCU just kind of sprinkled in there. I think 2-2 would be great during this stretch. What do you think is a reasonable expectation for how the Knights can come out of this next stretch of basketball games?
Well, ideally you want to steal one of these 3 games.
Yeah, for sure.
You want to sneak in a win there. 2-2 would be, I think, the high point. 1-3 is more realistic.
All right.
If as long as they don't lose against TCU, if they show up, unlike what happened against Kansas the first time they played, if they actually play like they did against Arizona State and Arizona, they may have a chance. Because even though they lost against Arizona, they had trouble. They just could not get over the hump. They closed it in. They just could not get ahead. They could play for a chance for an upset here, especially against Houston at home. The big problem with UCF is, and we saw this against Kansas, is they struggle in interior defense. Arizona scored a lot early in the paint. This is something that UCF's going to have to figure out. They were without Mustafa Sham this past game, and they made it work. So they're going to have to find a way to protect the interior. Or else a guy like Dickinson from Kansas is just going to have his way with them again. He absolutely torched them. So they're going to have to figure out something. A lot of people were upset about the loss, and that's fair. But sometimes losing is good. Losing is healthy. It hits the reset button, and this gave a lot of good stuff to go back to and analyze. And notice they didn't fall apart against Arizona. They just a little bit short on the short end on the road. It was tough. Play a late night game. What was it? 8 9 o'clock. Local time that they were playing at Arizona State. That's a little bit later of a game. They rose to the occasion. Didn't let anything from the travel from the previous couple of days when they came to Arizona affect them. I mean, it actually worked out for UCF's schedule to have those games back to back.
Yeah,
as
look,
opposed to all that travel in between.
the Big 12 and the SEC look ridiculous in basketball so far this year. I mean, Kansas is down there, like in the 5th slot, and they're number 9 in the country. So when you look at I think there's some opportunities here for UCF to get a signature win, and that's really what you need. You started the year beating Texas A&M, which I think was great, but I do think they need a conference signature win here, and you have a chance over this next stretch of 4 games to get one. I maybe like Houston to be that win. If I had to pick one,
It's the home game.
Yeah, I like Houston. I think that's the opportunity there to get that signature win. You agree?
Oh, I agree as well. Kansas, we've already seen they don't match up well. The big man situation. And then Iowa State is just so good. I don't think UCF is going to win that game. They'll play hard, but this is such a talented Cyclone squad. Remember, Iowa State is great in the regular season. It's in the postseason they fall apart. So they're still going to be on fire right now. But Houston, UCF has had success against highly ranked Houston Cougar squads. I remember a few years ago, they hosted the basketball version of College Game Day at Houston for this game, UCF Houston, and the Knights upset them. Right. So it's very doable. People don't realize how much these two schools really don't like each other, but no one talks about it. In football, UCF's had a lot of close games against the Cougars en route to major success. Their first game against a ranked opponent was Houston in the FBS. So Houston and UCF do have a lot of history as going through the Conference USA and then the American, now the Big 12. But it just doesn't get talked about.
Yeah. There's some exciting games, I think, on the docket. Looking forward to covering every second of it. But look, a big part of that success will be the continued development of Mikey Williams. We're talking about that right after a quick word from our sponsors. This episode of Locked On UCF is brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. Look, Prize Picks is the place to get real money sports action, Andrew, with over 10 million members and billions in winnings. Prize Picks has changed the game in daily fantasy sports. Whether it's the playoffs or regular season, Prize Picks has made it easier to win even bigger. I like mixing up my parlays. Do you watch any hockey, Andrew?
I'm an avid Tampa Bay Lightning fan. You'd be surprised how much hockey is loved in this area.
Oh, my goodness. I like mixing, weirdly enough, my baseball and hockey together, when I can. But look, no matter how you like to mix up your parlays, do it with our friends at Prize Picks. Ready to run your game this football season? Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 off instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 just for playing. Don't wait. Take your game to the next level with Prize Picks. Prize Picks. Run on over to Prize Picks right now. Mikey Williams, the heralded freshman-ish kind of kid here. Mikey Williams is back, and he's playing ball. We talked earlier in the month about his development and his return. How do you feel about how Mikey Williams is developing so far this season for UCF?
He's growing. He's growing into the game. Losing that year, his freshman year, that was tough.
Yeah.
Rough situation with his legal troubles, and then the University of Memphis and all that. So hit the reset button at UCF. He's still classified as a freshman. So still growing, learning the game. And you're seeing improvement as the season's wearing on. He's starting to get more minutes. He's starting to get in the game earlier, and he's starting to do things off the ball. He doesn't necessarily have to, be the guy. Which going in, I wasn't sure how he would rise up to the occasion as a player because a lot of those high school stars, they're so used to being the guy, so they carry everything on their shoulders. Mikey Williams looking at, he gets some rebounds, some assists, but he doesn't have to, force a lot of shots. He did pretty well against Arizona, 9 points. That was his high so far. But against, Arizona State still managed, 4 points in limited time, which, it may not sound like a lot, but this is a guy who's working up, and this is a talented roster to try to creep through. I mean,
right.
You look at this bench. I mean, it's pretty good. JJ Taylor is getting a lot of times. You got Coleman and the Johnsons. Darius Johnson, Dear Johnson. Dear Johnson not getting as much playing time as he used to, as Mikey Williams continues to start stealing minutes from others. But I mean, this is a talented squad. So he's working his way up. I know he was very, very highly touted and had a lot of eyes on him, in the high school circuit and the AAUs. But now at UCF, he's able to fly under the radar a little bit, and I think that's helping him grow as a player.
Yeah, I like the way that they're working him in here. Now, he's only averaging 8 minutes a game right now through the 6 games that he's played, 35% from the field. But as he starts to get the feel for the game, I think you'll see them expand his minutes, and you'll see him take over a lot more here. This is a good, well-rounded UCF team, and I like the fact that they don't have to depend overly on the young Mikey Williams for time before he's ready. So I like the process that they're employing with him right now, kind of easing him in and trying to get him acclimated to the speed of the game at this level. But the talent is clear. When you watch him handle the basketball and you watch him do some things, he looks smooth out there, man. He looks like a ball player. And UCF, I think, is very lucky to have Mikey Williams in the fold. Hopefully they can hold on to him for a few years. College basketball is a fickle mistress, man. You get one and then they're gone. You get a good one and then they're gone. But I'd like to see him play a few years at UCF.
I mean, that's always the hope. But you're right. You never know with the transfer portal. Guy here, here today, gone tomorrow. But UCF, has a couple guys who are, on their way out. Obviously, Darius Johnson, he's been here forever. This is his, I believe, his swan song season. So there, as a point guard, there's opportunity to learn and grow, and then be the guy next year. As a freshman, he's got time.
Yeah.
And maybe the things that he went through gave him a degree of humility and understanding that'll slow him down a little bit, allow him to grow as a person and grow as a player. And it only benefits UCF at this point, as a program, if he sticks around. Consistency is key. And you want to have guys that are around for a while. Like Mustafa Sham is a really talented freshman. This guy was highly touted recruit, and he's living up to the billing. He's looked really good, and you want him to stick around, and there's going to be schools out there that are going to be waving the checkbook. I mean, you got a 7-foot+ guy who's showing talent, and he's young. UCF's is gonna have to work hard to keep keep all this talent. But Johnny Dawkins is an incredibly loved coach. It's one reason why UCF's kept him around. He connects well with the players. He's got great pedigree. He's got great history behind him, and he sucks blood out of a stone. I mean, he has his ability to when they're not getting all that much support or resources into the program, he's able to deliver better results than expected from some of the peer programs, especially in the American. Last year, they were picked to finish last. Where'd they go? The NIT. Yep. In fact, if the season ended today, they'd probably be back in the NIT. They still got a little bit of work to do if they want to climb up into the bubble talk. A big quad 1 win against one of those big 3, that'll do it. That'll set them back into the conversation. They need something. But I mean, you got to be excited about this young team as long as UCF manages to somehow keep them.
Yeah, look, it's going to be exciting, I think, to watch. There's lots of opportunities for them to star against premier college basketball teams. Looking forward to seeing if Mikey Williams just happens to explode onto the scene in the next few games. We'll see how it goes. Andrew, I want to thank you for joining me. Before we get out of here, tell people where they can find you.
You can catch me on Twitter /X or Blue Sky at StatBoyDrew, and catch my writings on The Last Word on College Football, a part of The Last Word on Sports family.
Thank you so much for making Locked On UCF your first listen of every day. For your second listen, go ahead on over to Locked On Big 12. Our guy Drake Toll leads the conversation in conference realignment news and pulls no punches when it comes to talking about every team in the Big 12, including the UCF Knights. You can find them on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find us here tomorrow on Locked On UCF.